Everyone in my family got thoughtful Christmas gifts, except me. I sat there watching them laugh and celebrate while I unwrapped nothing, only to hear a cold, shocking excuse for why I was left out, and that moment changed how I saw my place in the family forever. I'm a 29-year-old man, and Christmas has always held significant importance for my family. We observe all the traditions, a grand meal, matching sleepwear for the youngsters, and, most crucially, the exchange of presents. Each year, we all dedicate effort to selecting thoughtful gifts for one another. Nothing extravagant, just tokens of affection. This year, I anticipated it more than usual. Work had been relentlessly demanding, and I longed to simply unwind, indulge in excessive food, and be in the company of my relatives. I arrived at my parents' residence as customary, carrying several bags filled with gifts for everyone. My older brother and sister were already there with their partners and children. My younger sister had also arrived, quietly positioned near the festive tree, helping one of the kids unwrap a present. The house resonated with activity, children darting about, holiday melodies playing, the scent of cinnamon and baked ham permeating the air. I stepped inside, and my mother offered a brief embrace, but something felt amiss. I couldn't quite identify it initially. My father acknowledged me from the kitchen, and my siblings greeted me, yet there was a peculiar hesitation, as if they were awaiting my words. I dismissed it, thinking perhaps I was imagining things. The gift exchange was invariably the highlight of the evening. We conducted it before dinner, and it was a delightful commotion, wrapping paper flying, laughter echoing, children shrieking with excitement. As usual, I settled onto the sofa, prepared to observe my nieces and nephews open their gifts first. My sister distributed presents to them individually, ensuring each child received something before proceeding to the adult gifts. Presents continued to circulate. My brother's wife received an elegant scarf, my sister unwrapped a spa set, my father got a new golf glove, and my mother a cookbook she had desired. Even my cousin, who rarely attended, received a box of artisanal chocolates. I waited and waited. At first, I assumed they were reserving mine for last, no big deal. But then, one by one, the gifts began to vanish. Every person in the room held something, expressing gratitude to each other, displaying their acquisitions, everyone except me. I sat there, hands empty, watching as the final presents were revealed. The room began to quiet. My mother collected discarded wrapping paper. My sister-in-law assisted her daughter in removing a new doll from its packaging. My father was already focused on pouring another drink for himself. I finally broke the silence. Oh, I think mine might have been misplaced. My mother paused. She glanced at my father. My siblings exchanged looks. There was an awkward hush, as if no one wished to be the one to speak. Then my father cleared his throat. We just assumed you wouldn't really need anything this year. I chuckled, expecting him to be jesting, but no one else joined in. What? My sister was the one who finally spoke. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat before stating, well, you're not married, you don't have children, and you earn more than the rest of us, so we figured you'd be perfectly fine without gifts. It took a moment for that to register. So, because I don't have kids, I don't receive a Christmas gift? My brother shrugged. The children come first. I surveyed the room. Every adult present had received a gift. My brother, his wife, my sister, her husband, my parents, even the distant cousin who barely spoke to us. But not me. I sat there attempting to process it. I had spent money on thoughtful presents for every single individual in that room. Selected a new kitchen gadget for my mother because she enjoyed cooking, acquired a bottle of his preferred whiskey for my father, purchased the art set my niece had been wanting, and ensured my nephew received the video game he had been discussing for months. And they hadn't even considered I warranted a single present. I gazed down at my unoccupied hands. Everyone else simply carried on as if it were inconsequential. My sister-in-law made a jest about the time it was taking to get the ham from the oven. My father shifted the conversation to football. It was as if I were invisible, like an outsider at my own family's Christmas gathering. The aftermath commences. The room continued to hum with conversation, but it was as though I wasn't even present. Wrapping paper crinkled beneath people's feet. My nephew was already playing with his new toy, and my mother was gathering gift bags, behaving as if nothing unusual had occurred. My younger sister cast a brief glance my way, then averted her gaze, as if deliberating whether to speak. I remained seated, still empty-handed, observing my family, awaiting someone, anyone, to acknowledge what had just transpired. Minutes elapsed. No one uttered a word. Finally, I shattered the quiet. So, because I don't have children, I don't receive presents? How does that make sense? A few individuals exchanged glances, then looked back at me. My mother let out a weary sigh, shaking her head as if this were something I should simply accept. My father folded his arms. My older brother leaned back, appearing to wish he were anywhere but here. My mother spoke first. It's not that we don't care about you, dear, but we had to prioritize. Christmas is costly. Across the room, my brother nodded. The kids come first. It just seemed equitable. I looked at the pile of gifts and the adults seated around me, all clutching something. My sister adjusting a new bracelet on her wrist, my father already perusing a book someone had given him, my sister-in-law smiling down at a brand new handbag. Every single one of you received something. I pointed out, my voice now sharper. It's not just the children. Every adult in this room got a gift, except me. No one had a reply for that. That's when my sister-in-law rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. It's not a big deal. You don't even value material possessions. The same old refrain. I was unattached. I earned well. I had everything I needed. So why did it matter? I leaned back, replaying every Christmas, every birthday, every holiday gathering. The expensive bottles of wine I brought to dinners, the concert tickets I purchased for my brother's birthday last year, the way I always made sure my niece and nephew got something cool. I always gave, and somehow it had never occurred to me just how little I received in return. A soft voice pierced the quiet. My nephew, only 10, looked up at me with wide eyes. Uncle, why didn't you get any presents? The room fell into an uncomfortable silence once more. No one responded to him. My father cleared his throat and finally spoke. We just thought you'd prefer to save your money instead of us wasting it on something you don't need. That was it. I pushed myself up from the sofa. So basically, I'm only here to contribute, but not to benefit? What kind of family treats someone like that? My mother let out an awkward laugh, waving a hand as if I were being absurd. Oh, don't be so dramatic, sweetheart. I grabbed my jacket, disregarding the way my sister and brother looked at me as if I were spoiling the evening. Without another word, I walked to the front door. No one attempted to stop me. No one even sent a message after I departed. I drove home, the streetlights blurring past the windshield. No music, no distractions, just the same thought repeating in my mind. They truly didn't consider me important enough to include. Later that evening, I contacted my closest friend. I hadn't intended to vent, but the moment they answered, the words poured out. The uncomfortable silence at dinner, the gifts being distributed one by one, the realization that I was the only one excluded. They were astonished. That's messed up. The conversation made me feel a little less irrational, but it didn't eliminate the anger simmering beneath my skin. So I did something I had never done before. I turned to the internet. I opened Reddit, navigated to r/true off my chest, and typed it all out. Every single detail. The gift exchange, the justifications, the moment my 10-year-old nephew noticed before any of the adults did. At the end, I inquired, am I overreacting for being upset about this? I tapped post, then set my phone down. I wasn't expecting much. Perhaps a few people would agree. Maybe someone would tell me to get over it. Either way, I just needed to express it. But within an hour, my notifications were exploding. Thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments. People were outraged on my behalf. The top comment had thousands of likes. They didn't forget you. They intentionally left you out. Others shared similar narratives. Individuals who had been treated as afterthoughts by their families. People who had initiated no contact for less. Some even highlighted how manipulative my family's reasoning was. Then the messages began. A cousin direct messaged me. Dude, I saw your post. I always thought it was strange how they treat you. Another relative commented, I never realized it before, but yes, they take you for granted. By the time I retired for the night, the post had gone viral. It wasn't just my family anymore. Thousands of strangers were condemning it. And from the way things were progressing, my parents were bound to discover it sooner or later. And when they did, I had a feeling things were about to escalate significantly. The fallout intensifies. I awoke to my phone vibrating incessantly. Missed calls, voicemails, a flood of notifications. The first thing I saw was a text from my younger sister. Mom saw the post. She is furious. Then the phone began ringing again, my mother. I allowed it to go to voicemail. A few minutes later, a lengthy message arrived. How could you humiliate us like that? Another call, my father. Then a new message from my older brother. You really had to broadcast family matters to strangers on the internet. So they had found it. The Reddit post had gained immense traction overnight. Thousands of comments, shares, even messages from people stating they had experienced the same thing. Apparently, someone in the family had stumbled upon it and sent it to my parents. Another text came through from a cousin. Dude, your post is everywhere, and honestly, I always thought it was weird how they treat you. By the time I scrolled through all the messages, my mother had left another voicemail. Her voice was sharp, as if she had been suppressing tears. You're making us appear monstrous. You know we love you, but we had to prioritize. You don't have children, you don't require anything, and now you're turning the entire family against us. Another message from my father, brief and direct. We're your family. You don't betray your own blood over a couple of gifts. It wasn't merely about the presents. It was about being treated as if I didn't matter. A few hours later, a message arrived from an unexpected source, my mother's sister. She had seen the post. I don't blame you for being upset. The way they handled that was wrong. Just know that not everyone in this family agrees with them. That was the first genuine support I received from someone within the family. But the drama was far from over. My sister-in-law blocked me on every platform. Instagram, Facebook, even WhatsApp. I checked the family group chat. She had exited it. My brother was still in there, but he hadn't spoken since his angry text that morning. Perhaps he didn't care, perhaps he agreed with my mother, or perhaps he was just accustomed to me being the one who remained silent. Then a cousin sent me something that made my stomach drop, a screenshot of a gift list. It had been compiled weeks before Christmas. My name wasn't on it. Not crossed out, not overlooked, just entirely absent. It listed every single person who was receiving a present. Even distant relatives I rarely saw had their names on it. Mine wasn't there. Then a second message came through from the same cousin. Also just found this out. Your parents had a set budget for gifts. Instead of getting you something, they decided to take your share and distribute it among the children. So it wasn't that they forgot. It wasn't an oversight. They had intentionally excluded me. A few hours passed before my phone rang again. My mother. This time, I answered. Her voice was calmer now, but there was a forced patience in it, as if she were attempting to suppress her true thoughts. Look, let's just move past this, okay? Just remove the post, and we can discuss this like adults. There it was, the genuine reason for her call. I didn't respond. She tried again. You have no idea how mortifying this is. People are asking questions. Just delete it, and we'll forget this ever happened. Still, I remained silent. Then she sighed, her voice dropping into that guilt-inducing tone she always used when she wanted to make me feel like the bad guy. You're really going to tarnish our reputation over this. I ended the call. Minutes later, another text arrived from my younger sister. Mom is panicking, but for what it's worth, I understand why you're upset. That was the closest thing to an apology I had received from anyone. Christmas used to be something I anticipated. Now it was merely a reminder that I wasn't truly a part of the family, not in the way my siblings were. By the end of the night, I had already made up my mind. Next Christmas, I wasn't spending it with them. The point of no return the next morning, my phone was already vibrating before I even opened my eyes. Missed calls from my mother, father, older brother, more messages than I could count. I disregarded them and scrolled through Reddit instead. Overnight, the post had taken on a life of its own. A cousin must have seen it and sent it to my parents, because there was no other way they would have discovered it so quickly. My post had gained even more traction overnight. Thousands of people were still commenting, sharing their own experiences, calling out the toxic favoritism. It had been shared across multiple subreddits, even reaching Twitter. People were outraged on my behalf. I returned to my messages. A new one had appeared. A family group chat had been created. Family comes first. The moment I opened it, the messages began to appear. My mother. I can't believe you did this. My father. You embarrassed the entire family. My older brother. All this over some trivial gifts? You're pathetic. It just continued. Accusations, guilt-tripping, insults disguised as concern. Then a new message popped up from my father. You've always been self-centered. Perhaps this is why you don't have a family of your own. I stared at the message for a moment, then I left the group chat, blocking it the instant I did. My phone rang again, my older brother. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, a voice memo appeared. His voice was loud, angry. Christmas isn't about you. Grow up. You're behaving like a spoiled brat. We all have obligations. You wouldn't comprehend that because you only have to look after yourself. Another text from my mother followed. You never cared about gifts anyway. You always claimed you weren't materialistic. Why are you acting like this now? I didn't reply. Instead, I went back to Reddit. The top comment stood out. They didn't forget you. They intentionally excluded you. Another comment caught my attention. This isn't new behavior. I guarantee they've been doing this your whole life. You just never noticed. A few minutes later, another message arrived. My cousin, the one who had sent me the gift list. I was talking to my mom, and she reminded me of something. This isn't the first time they've treated you like an outsider. Apparently, when I was a child, family vacations were arranged without me. Everyone received new clothes for the first day of school, except me. Even my high school graduation party had been a hastily organized event, while my siblings had full celebrations. It wasn't just Christmas. It had never been just Christmas. My younger sister texted me next. I get why you're upset. I really do. I've noticed things too, but I don't know how to stand up to them. I put my phone down. Later that night, My uncle, my mother's brother, messaged me out of nowhere. We had never been particularly close, but his text was simple. Your parents have always played favorites. You deserve better. That was the moment I reached my decision. I wasn't going to argue anymore. I wasn't going to defend myself or explain why I was hurt. I didn't need to. I unfollowed my family on social media, muted their numbers, blocked the family group chat. No more explanations, no more justifications. And for the first time in a long while, I felt liberated. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. No family messages, no calls, no passive-aggressive comments. Just quiet. The silence and the lie. A week elapsed. No contact. The tranquility was almost unsettling, but it didn't persist. Then the bombshell dropped. A text from my younger sister popped up. Mom is telling people you're mentally unstable and need help. I knew she would never admit fault, but twisting the narrative this far was a new low. I stared at my screen. Seriously? I checked social media. Sure enough, my mother had made a post. One of those vague, guilt-inducing ones that older relatives readily embrace. It's so sad when people let anger and entitlement poison their hearts. Family should always come first. The comments section was filled with concerned messages. Stay strong, mama. Some people just don't appreciate family. Others chimed in, offering prayers and sympathy. No one knew the full story. Then more messages began to arrive. Old family acquaintances were reaching out, confused. What's going on? Your mom is saying you refuse to participate in Christmas this year. That was not what happened, not even close. My mother had completely distorted the story. Instead of acknowledging they excluded me, she was telling everyone I refused to be part of the gift exchange, that I stormed out over nothing, that I had chosen to isolate myself. And it wasn't just my mother. A cousin sent me a screenshot from a family gathering. My father casually telling people, guessed my name, doesn't want to be part of this family anymore. Meanwhile, the family Facebook pages were active again. My parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, all posting Christmas photos as if nothing had occurred, smiling, laughing, holding their gifts, making sure to display what they received from each other. No indication that anything had gone awry. That would have been the end of it, except for one comment. A cousin, the same one who disclosed the gift list, posted beneath the photos. Strange how everyone got gifts except original poster. The comment remained visible for exactly 5 minutes before it was removed. Then my mother blocked the cousin. And just like that, the narrative began to unravel. More distant relatives started reaching out. Some who had always remained neutral were now recognizing the pattern. Hey, is it true what happened? Your mom is acting really strange about it. Then my mother's sister, the aunt who had contacted me before, finally confronted her. I've remained silent long enough. You've always played favorites, and now you're fabricating stories to conceal it. I didn't see the response, but another cousin sent me a message right afterward. Your mom is having a meltdown. She's claiming she's being attacked. It was all falling apart. Then a final message from my brother. Mom is crying. Are you content now? I took my time before replying. I was the only one who didn't get a Christmas gift. Are you content? Then I blocked the chat. And just like that, the meltdown was no longer my concern. The finality of the door after blocking the family group chat, things finally began to settle down. No more guilt-tripping texts. No more Facebook posts portraying me as the antagonist. No more phone calls attempting to draw me back into their drama. For the first time in weeks, I experienced peace, until I heard a knock at my door. It was early evening. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I initially ignored it. But then the knocking intensified. I checked the peephole, my father. I hesitated, then opened the door just enough to observe his expression. No anger this time, no frustration, just a calm, too calm, demeanor. Your mother is heartbroken. Just apologize, and we can move forward. I didn't respond immediately. I simply stared at him. Apologize for what? For expecting to be treated like a regular family member? For highlighting the obvious favoritism? I asked him directly, apologize for what? He let out a heavy sigh, stepping back slightly. Look, your siblings require more assistance than you do. You don't have children. They do. It's simply how things are. There it was, the unspoken rule they had all been adhering to for years, now articulated. I didn't have kids, so I didn't count. I wasn't struggling, so I wasn't worth including. I repeated his words back to him. So I'm not really part of this family, am I? My father shifted uncomfortably, crossing his arms. Of course you are. You're just in a different phase of life. A different phase, not an equal one, not a phase that deserved the same effort, consideration, or respect. I stepped back inside and grasped the door handle. If that's how you perceive me, then I don't need to be a part of this anymore. Then I shut the door. For the first time, I felt relief instead of guilt. No more trying to convince them I mattered. No more explaining why I deserved to be treated like family. A few hours later, my phone illuminated again. Missed calls from my siblings, a text from my brother, furious. You're the one tearing this family apart. Blocked. You're being absurd. Blocked. Mom is crying. Hope you're happy. Blocked. I was done. A day later, an unexpected message arrived. My aunt, the one who had supported me. I meant what I said. You deserve better. If you don't want to spend next Christmas alone, you're welcome to spend it with us. No guilt. No pressure. Just a genuine invitation. And for the first time, I considered it. Or perhaps I'd take a trip somewhere new, establish my own traditions, do something that didn't involve sitting in a room full of people who only saw me as a financial resource. That night, my younger sister texted, the only one who hadn't blocked me or sent nasty messages. Mom is saying she regrets how Christmas went. I waited for the follow-up, but she won't say it to you directly. Of course, she wouldn't. And that told me everything I needed to comprehend. The last gambit and new beginnings. A few days passed. No texts, no calls, no new group chat attempts. Just absolute quiet. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my younger sister. Mom says she regrets how Christmas went, but she won't say it to you directly. Of course, she wouldn't. Instead of reaching out, she was doing what she always did, telling everyone else how terrible she felt, hoping the message would find its way back to me. It didn't stop there. Over the next few days, I received random messages from cousins, aunts, even an old neighbor. Your mom feels awful. She was just trying her best. She didn't mean to hurt you. But still, no direct apology. Then my aunt, the one who had been on my side, called me. Your mom is embarrassed, but she'll never admit it to your face. No surprise there. It wasn't about rectifying things. It was about preserving appearances. And then she executed her next maneuver. I logged into Facebook and saw I had been tagged in a post, an old family memories collage, pictures from past holidays, random childhood moments, a vague caption about cherishing the people who matter most. No mention of Christmas, no mention of what had transpired, just a subtle way to act as if everything were fine. I ignored it. No likes, no comments. And that's when the guilt tripping began. A new message from my brother popped up. You're really going to harbor resentment over some Christmas gifts? Grow up. Not a single person had apologized, not one. They didn't regret excluding me. They regretted that I resisted. Then my mother played her next card. A cousin sent me a warning. Your mom has been sighing a lot about how stress is bad for her health because of all this drama. Right. So now I was supposed to feel sympathetic towards her. I let another few days pass. No reaction, no texts. I waited to see if she would finally yield and simply speak to me directly. She didn't. Instead, my aunt called again with a new piece of information. Your mom actually told me she was hoping this would teach him a lesson. That stopped me cold. This wasn't about finances. This wasn't about Christmas being too costly. They wanted to remind me of my place. My role in the family wasn't to be included. It was to give and never expect anything in return. That's when I finally sent a text to my mother. If you actually regret what happened, you tell me directly, not through other people. The response came instantly. Don't place all this blame on me. You're the one making a huge deal out of nothing. And just like that, I blocked her number. No more guilt tripping, no more games, no more family that only perceived me as useful but never worthy. The quiet after the storm and a new path to silence didn't endure for long after blocking my mother. I anticipated a final eruption, one last desperate attempt to emotionally manipulate me, but instead, they adopted a different strategy. They acted as if I ceased to exist. The first indication was the social media purge. My mother, father, brother, and sister-in-law completely stopped mentioning me. Normally, even if we weren't extremely close, my mother would at least tag me in old family photos or post the occasional missing my son type of sentiment. This time, nothing. Instead, my brother suddenly became the favored child. Posts about how proud they were of him, how he was such a wonderful father, and how family is everything. Nothing about me. Then came the passive-aggressive Christmas summary. My mother posted a long, emotional Facebook status about how some people don't understand what family truly means. She didn't mention me by name, but the message was unmistakable. Then a text from my younger sister. I think mom's just trying to prove she doesn't need you. Right, because instead of actually apologizing, she was intensifying her stance. But the plan wasn't succeeding. Extended family members began asking questions. A cousin reached out first. Why weren't you in any of the Christmas photos? Then an uncle. Everything okay with your parents? They're acting strangely. Then my aunt intervened again, the one who had supported me from the beginning. She left a public comment under my mother's Christmas post. Too bad not everyone was included this year. I checked back an hour later. The comment was gone. My aunt texted me. She deleted it, and now she blocked me. So now my mother was severing ties with her own sister just to maintain the charade. That's when my father finally broke his silence. A single text. Nothing dramatic. You know you're still our son. You don't have to make this permanent. I stared at the message for a long time before finally replying. Then why did you treat me like I didn't exist? No response. The next day, my mother posted another vague rant, this time about family loyalty and how some people forget who was there for them. More relatives started reaching out. People who usually remain neutral were now discerning the pattern. Then the ultimate betrayal. A friend sent me a screenshot. My mother had contacted a random family acquaintance, someone I barely even knew, and invited them to next year's Christmas. Not to reconcile with me, not to rectify anything, but to literally replace me. That was it, the final breaking point. But the strategy backfired. People started unfollowing her. Relatives stopped responding to her posts. And for the first time, I realized I didn't care, because ever since I distanced myself from them, I had been happier, less stressed, and completely unburdened. The last message months passed. No calls, no texts, only silence. I had moved on. My life was calmer, my stress levels diminished, and for the first time, I wasn't constantly anticipating the next family dispute. Then, unexpectedly, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. I miss my son. I stared at the screen. After everything, this was her grand opening statement. Before I could process it, another message arrived. I just wish you'd apologize so we can be a family again. There it was, the true reason she reached out. She didn't miss me. She missed controlling me. She missed having someone to induce guilt in. She missed having me fulfill my role without question. I didn't reply. And then the ultimate deception was exposed. My aunt, the same one who had stood by me throughout this entire ordeal, called and delivered a bombshell. My family was planning a major trip, a lavish Christmas vacation. Flights booked, hotels reserved. Of course, I hadn't been invited, not even a fabricated invitation. They were proceeding without me. Then a text from my father. It's a shame you're creating such difficulties. We're going to destination this year for Christmas. You could have joined us. I actually chuckled when I read it. They believed I would feel excluded, that this was a form of punishment. But in reality, I was relieved. If they didn't want me, then I didn't want them either. Instead of sitting around feeling sorry for myself, I made my own holiday arrangements. I booked a trip with friends. No forced small talk, no awkward silences, no feeling like an outsider at my own family gathering. Then another update from my younger sister. She had finally snapped at my mother. You did this. You alienated him. And my mother's final excuse. I just didn't think he'd take it this seriously. Right, because to her, I was supposed to simply accept the treatment, take the leftovers, and never push back. Then the fissures within the family began to become apparent. Without me to serve as the family scapegoat, old tensions started to surface. The perfect family dynamic was crumbling. My older brother, suddenly under pressure to be the golden child full-time, began to grow weary of my mother's expectations. My sister-in-law, who had readily sided with my parents previously, started complaining about them being too involved in their lives. The unity they had after Christmas was gone, and I wasn't there to mend it. Months later, I made one final update on Reddit. I detailed everything. The gift exchange, the gaslighting, the attempts to manipulate me, the moment I finally walked away for good. At the end, I wrote, I'm done, and I've never been happier. A few weeks after that, my phone buzzed again. Another message from my mother. I hope one day you'll return. I didn't even open it.